everybody, Spine Ticks Pressing here, and I recently worked on a 10-book submission to CGC for Hangar-18 Comics. Well, guess what? The books are back. Let's see how I did. So all of the books come from the famous John Byrne run of Sensational She-Hulk. And there's a bunch of different issues, but let's start with the first one that's on this list as part of this submission, and it's She-Hulk #1. So let's take a look at my analysis. This was the analysis that I did and I sent to Hangar-18 before I sent the book to CGC. And then once the analysis is over, we'll take a look right here and see the new slab and see what the grade is for the book. And we'll do that all the way through the entire 10-book submission. So stay tuned to the very end. So here we have She-Hulk issue #1. And this book was pretty dirty. In fact, there were some areas where it looked like maybe, I don't know, there were like black spots that I just couldn't get off. A lot of them I did get off, but it was kind of like deeply embedded dirt in this. There was a large indentation here inside the barcode, and it's just barely visible now. It was a large indentation, very noticeable. This corner and the top one looks great, actually. It looks fine on the front. This one shows a little bit of a corner crunch. It's not really, I don't know, it's not too obvious. I would give it like maybe a score out of 2 out of 10 or so. There are a number of color breaks. The largest is this one. There was a kind of a fold in the book that had a little bit of a raised part to it, but you can still see where the fold was because there's a little bit of color breaking, but it's now completely flat. There was also like what looked like a finger band. Maybe somebody at one point kind of put pressure here on the book. It created a color break, but the indentation in the book is really minimal. It's not noticeable to the naked eye, I don't think. A little bit of some color loss or color rub kind of right along the spine in this area. And I think given that, and then, you know, there's like a little bit of this, it was very dirty up in here and along this edge. And I got most of it off. There are a couple little spots that I just couldn't get off, deeply embedded dirt. But I feel that the book is much cleaner than it was to start with. These areas right in here, these lighter colored areas on her uniform were really dirty. But I mean, it's a great book for this run. This is an important run, and it is a newsstand copy. So, all right, here's a quick review of She-Hulk #1. My prediction is this is going to be an 8.0. Just pointing out, I think this book is maxed out as far as what I can do with it. Here are some of the issues that I noticed. We have a crunched corner here. This is on the back. A number of spine ticks. A little bit of color rub was right there, but there are a number of color breaking spine ticks. Both the top corner and this corner show some blunting. And then I noticed over here there was this spot right here. Let me use my pointer. And I noticed the Y showed a little bit of eraser mark. So I think at one point somebody tried to maybe erase off this little spot and got a little bit of the Y. So that's the back side. I'm going to flip it over to the front. All right, so let's take a look at the big reveal. And before I get started, I just want to thank Hangar-18. I know it's very difficult out there to find comic book cleaners and pressers that you can trust. And I just want to thank Hangar-18 for trusting me with these books. So let's take a look at the slab for issue #1. It was an 8.0, just as I predicted. All right, let's take a look at the next book in this series. And there's 2 copies of She-Hulk #29. There's copy A and copy B. So let's take a look at copy A. She-Hulk issue 29A. There is an issue right up there on the spine. I thought they coincided with the staples, but they didn't. So there's like what almost looks like a little spine tear And then down here on the spine, this one is connected with the bottom staple. But other than that, front looks great. Alright, this is She-Hulk 29A. I predict it'll come back an 8.0 or a 8.5, primarily because of the staining that was very heavy on the back side. Now it's lightened considerably, but it's still present. The front of the book looks great. The bottom staple looks a little recessed. And let me see if I can try to get some inside pages. And on the inside, there's some staining, which I reduced a good amount. Those were very dark stains, and they're light. Couldn't get rid of them completely, but I think they will. Affect the page quality of this book. I put a lot of moisture in the back of this book to try to get rid of some of these stains. As a result, you can see there's some very slight rippling that I just could not get out of the book. Right there on the back. It's very faint. They may miss it. I doubt it, but that's it. This book, heavily stained. This was the worst of all the books, and I think it doesn't look too bad. And it's a great cover with Spider-Man on the front. All right, you saw it. I predicted that book, 29A, would come back either an 8.0 or an 8.5. So let's see the results back from CGC. It was came back as an 8.0. Now let's take a look at 29B. Well, somehow I deleted the video analysis of 29B, but here's the front cover. And let's take a look at the back cover. Here's the back cover. And you can see that my prediction was this would come back a 9.0 or a 9.2. All right, let's take a look at the final result back from CGC. Issue number 29B was a 9.4. That's awesome. So there's one that I've got that exceeded the expectations. So awesome, and congrats, Hangar-18. All right, the next three books we're going to look at are She-Hulk issues number 34, A, B, and C. So let's take a look at all three right now. All right, so here's She-Hulk 34A. I thought my prediction was either a 9.0 or a 9.2. I do think the book really looks solid. The book itself, the face of the colors and how level the cover looks, I think it looks really good. I do see and had noticed from the beginning, I couldn't correct these, there's some wear along the top edge. There's a little wear spot there and one there. And then there's a sizable spine tick right here. It was much bigger than this. It was kind of like a large bend, and I was able to get it to where it looked pretty flat, but it's still color breaking. And then there's some real small color breaking. There's maybe 1, 2, 3, I think there's 4 real tiny, minute color breaking ticks on the spine. So let's take a look at the back. Okay, here's the back of the book. Looks very clean, real nice flatness to the book. Spine looks great. I don't see any more spine ticks. There was that bottom one that I mentioned on the front. It went through the back, and you can see where it was. It's not color breaking, but I don't know how to describe it. You can kind of see where the fold was, and it's right there. But I think it's negligible. All in all, I think the book looks great. I don't know. You just never know with CGC. I'm hoping it will score higher. Here's the front. My prediction is this is going to come back either a 9.2 or a 9.4. There really are no flaws that I can find along the spine. Corners look great, edges look great. Hardly no to minimal wear. The only issue that I see here is there's a remnant of a small stain, and I was able to use the blue light to get it out. You can kind of see a little bit
of a little hint of a bend, and I'd like to get that out. So I think I'm going to put a little bit more steam on that corner, and we're going to repress this book. But I think it'll come back as a high grade, either a 9.2 or a 9.4, maybe higher. Here's the back side of She-Hulk 34B. There was some minor staining on the back, and I feel like it's all gone. It's not even detectable anymore. Backside looks great. I'm not happy with, there's a little bit of waviness in the cover, so I'm going to repress this. Alright, this is She-Hulk 34C. This was a book that had quite a bit of staining on it. I predict that this book will come back either a 9.0 or 9.2. Some of the things that jump out at me is this staple. For some reason, this is another one of those where the bottom staple seems more recessed than the top. Front cover looks fantastic. Let's take a look at the back side. Here's the back. You can see very little evidence of the staining. It is noticeable. If you kind of stare at it, you can see some spots there above the E and Brave, but up there by some. But compared to where this book started, it's much, much dramatically better.
All right, let's see how I did on 34A, 34B, and 34C. In this collection of books that I worked on, 2 issues were of She-Hulk number 40, which is a highly desirable, highly collectible issue. It's the jump rope cover. So let's take a look at the first one, 40A, and let's look at 40B right after.
So here's She-Hulk 40. I predict this will come back a 8.0 or an 8.5. There's some issues on the corners. You can see there's some corner wear, a little bit of wear down the spine. The biggest issue is this fingerprint color issue at the top. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at the back. There was a fair amount of staining on the back of the book. Might be difficult to see. Relatively large stain there that just didn't come up. Let's see if I can get it into focus. Also, there were some large stains down at the bottom. I think you can see right there, just below the card, there was like a foxing stain there. I'm going to try to buff that a little bit more and see if I can get more sheen in there. And then there was another large stain right there. And all in all, I think the book came out all right. It looks pretty good. And I would say this is going to be an 8.0 or an 8.5.
So here is issue 40B. I did not have a video of the analysis, but here's the cover. And let's take a look at the back.
Number B, and I believe this is a 9.8. There is one slight flaw on the front. It's very minuscule. It's a slight color break, but it's super, super tiny, and it may help hold it back. So that's why I predicted this book was 9.6 to a 9.8. But this is one that I guess if you get a real harsh grader, it could be lower, but I think this is very reasonable. This book is just, the corners are flawless, the edges are flawless, staples look great, spine looks great, coloring looks wonderful in the book. It looks like a mint. It looks like a 9.8, a super copy.
All right, let's take a look at 40A. How did I do? Looks like an 8.5. And let's take a look at 40B. Did I get that 9.8? Let's see. Yes, we did. We got the 9.8 for Hangar-18. All right, the last book that we're going to look at is She-Hulk issue number 43. So let's take a look at the footage of this book.
All right, here's She-Hulk issue number 43. I thought, and I'm a pretty conservative scorer, I scored this between either an 8.5 or a 9.0. The thing that I just don't know is how much CGC is going to take into consideration this staple. Now, I'm not sure if these books have been pressed before, but I did see a number of books that look to have the staples slightly sunken. It's not real obvious, but this one right here looks fine. The top staple on this book I think looks fine, but this one right here for some reason looks sunk. So generally, if a book is pressed too tightly, both staples become sunk. So I'm not quite sure why one looks fine and one doesn't. I mean, I think it still looks fine, but I'm not sure why this one looks more sunken than the top one. My guess is this is probably a manufacturing issue. Everything on this book looks phenomenal. Corners look great. I think this is going to score higher than what I'm predicting, but I'm going to stick with this just because I'm just not sure about this staple. And there's also a very small amount of color rub right here by the staple. It almost looks like dust or a little bit of dirt, but it's just super, super tiny. And I really don't think that's going to affect the grading too much at CGC. The back, I'll flip it, but the back looks incredible. So let me flip it and show you the back real quick. So I really struggled to find any kind of issue on the back. The back to me is perfect. I don't see a single thing wrong with the back. It looks great, very clean. These corners are outstanding. Even these corners, spine looks phenomenal. So the back looks impeccable. So like I said, I think I'm probably being too tough on this one. It's probably going to come back higher, but I just don't know about that bottom staple, how that's going to come out and be considered at CGC. All right, we saw the prediction of She-Hulk 43. I said I thought it'd be somewhere between an 8.0 and a 9.0. So let's see, did we finish up strong with this one? There it is. Yes, we did, a 9.6. So I gotta tell you, I was extremely stoked to be able to work on these books for Hangar-18 Comics. Take a look I've listed a link to Hangar-18 Comics in the description below. Let me know what your feedback is. Please put it down and leave some comments so we know. And I just want to tell you thank you for being here. Thank you, Hangar-18, for making this video possible. And everybody out there, thank you for tuning in. Take a look at some of these other videos here on the screen. You might follow them and you might enjoy them. And as always, get out there, find those books, and happy hunting.